This one is the return of a character I've done before on this channel that you may have seen. I believe the video is called Tanze, which is German for dance, 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 which is a stupid reference to the 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 meme of the cat dancing, and I dance, dance, dance to dance, dance, dance. The reason for that is that it is a picture of a cat, and I put him in lederhosen, which means he's German. So there's that. So I decided to do an updated version of this character with a few specific things in mind. One, I wanted to put more thought into his costuming instead of just putting him in lederhosen and a shirt. And then I believe I even admit this in the previous video that I didn't really know what else to add to it. So I think he has like a dagger and a water pouch or something. But this one I wanted to give more purpose to everything that he owns. So this character is a wizard of sorts. He is a Totoro-esque figure that he lives inside of this magical bell that he wears on his collar, and kind of like a genie. If somebody stumbles on this bell, they could summon him. And in addition to that, he's also the owner and proprietor of an antique shop or a magic shop or a cabinet of curiosities is the term that I'm ultimately going with, because I've decided to name the store that he operates Dr. Visgard von Fluf's Katzenwunderkammer, which roughly translates to Dr. Visgard von Fluf's cat cabinet of curiosities, which I know in German is not actually grammatical. I just really like how it sounds. So I'm hoping that any fluent German speakers will forgive Katzenwunderkammer because I just really like how it sounds. I do not speak German. I looked up a few words and I did a small amount of research to find out if that title of that store made any sense, and it doesn't really make sense, but there's enough wiggle room in German that I, as a non-German speaker, have decided that I like it. So that's what I'm going with, and I hope it's okay. So as you can see where I'm working now, he still has the lederhosen, but I've decided to reference, I pulled one of them on screen, but I actually kind of did some research into fashion of the, 1700s German peasant and lower class, middle class, what kind of clothes they would wear and what the style would be and kind of what it actually looks like. And so I updated this lederhosen sort of look by adding the ties on the sides, the ribbon-ish part on the sides, and these leg warmer things, which I know he's a cat, which I think may have been the reason that I went minimal clothing in the first place, was because he has fur. So does he need to wear these leg warmers or a vest or all these layers? Arguably no, not for warmth, but for culture, and for I don't know, like, we sometimes wear clothes that are too hot and uncomfortable because of the fashion edicts of the time. So that sort of made sense to me. I did leave him barefoot though, because it just, I don't know, at some point the line is made where I can no longer uphold the suspension of disbelief. It just didn't make sense for me that he would wear shoes, since cats have padded feet, and he'd be much more nimble if he wasn't wearing shoes, and much more stealthy, and cats are supposed to be stealthy. But on that note, I like the idea. So he's, I don't know, probably like 6'3" or 6'5", or he's very tall and very large, because I want him to have this Totoro-esque appearance. So compared to other people, he just like is a big presence. And I like the idea that because he's a cat, he's not completely a cat. It's not all like he's a cat as a person jokes, but there are some of them thrown in there because everybody likes those. They're fun. So I have this idea where he might be like hiding from somebody, and he decides to hide behind something really small, and his ears are like poking up, and he's very clearly visible, and people like point that out to him, and he's like, "Nine, I am invisible." That was some Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in there, and that's Austrian, and he's supposed to be German. I'm not very good at a German accent. But again, like I said in a previous video, I'm not a professional voice actor, and I'm not playing this character. I'm just drawing them. So this one took me a bit longer than ones of late, and I'm not entirely sure why, because some of it might be that I was being more detailed than usual, but I also think there's a certain amount of I was experimenting with a lot of things, and I don't know how much of the time of this video is how much work it actually was to get the piece done, and how much of it was just stuff I tried and then didn't keep. And I'm watching it back now. I guess most of it is stuff that I ultimately kept, or the stuff that didn't really work I tried to rework rather than scrap it entirely. But I really wanted this to be a more painting, more texture-based picture, so a lot of detail, which ultimately made the file rather large, I guess, because there were a lot of contrasting textures and several layers. I use a lot of layers. I've watched other people draw, and I think people use fewer layers than I do in general, because I'm really picky about keeping everything separated so that I can alter just one thing and not destroy the rest of it. I like non-destructive drawing, I suppose. And that's probably still a remnant of not wanting to erase the stuff that I've done. Maybe I should get over that, but also, I don't really have any formal training on how to do digital art. I just kind of figured it out. So there's probably a lot of stuff that I do in here that is less efficient than it could be. And I am learning as I go. I've been consistently learning more and more techniques. I think you can see that if you follow all of the videos I've put out thus far. But this one, something that I liked a while back, I did a drawing of a cartoon vampire, and the goal with that was to keep the line weight small on the outlines and not be as tidy with them, and I think I really like that look of the thin outlines. I heard somebody say, I believe it was on the Drawfee channel, one of the artists on that channel said, I use thick line weight, or I use heavy line weight to hide the fact that I'm not doing detail or something. They use it as a crutch, and that kind of inspired me to be like, okay, well, I'm going to try to do something with very thin outlines, and it drastically changes the feel of working on a drawing. That I don't really know exactly how to describe it, because when I'm just doing the outlines, it almost kind of feels like I have a lot more work to do, but that's not really true. You're just doing bigger shapes with a lot more space inside. So I don't know. I don't know how to describe that. Maybe other artists out there understand what I'm saying, or maybe I'm just not making any sense at all to anyone, and should probably stop talking. But I have about a minute and a half left of this drawing, so I probably shouldn't stop talking. Yeah, I ran out of stuff. But so quirks that I added in the previous drawing, he did not have his eyes open, so I had to make a decision about what color his eyes were. And I just looked at the most common cat's eye colors, and ultimately decided to do the David Bowie eyes, because I like that, where one of them is a different color. That's not actually true of David Bowie, but I call it David Bowie anyway. Because David Bowie's eye color was caused by an injury, as opposed to like just having two different eye colors. Anyway, this is this is the character done, and I threw in sort of a background. Again, just experimenting, playing with things. I wanted something to be there, and then I put in the title. The reason that I listed the entire title at the beginning was because I included this in the video, Dr. Wiesgard von Fluef's Katzen Wunderkammer. And that is that the final graphic art for his shop? Probably not, but I did kind of like this little insignia that I made because, as I said, he's tied to this bell. So I think the bell is like his coat of arms or his emblem. And I don't know, I kind of like what that looks like. The text could be better. It looks a little Halloween-y. I'm not very good at graphic text, as I've said many a time on this channel. But anyway, here it is. Wiesgard von Fluef, Dr. Wiesgard von Fluef, does not like to be called Fluefy. Thanks.